So I know that this has gone on for quite a bit, so I'm not going to take too much of your time. For those that don't know, I'm an entrepreneur, a business owner. I'm not sure how many people actually know what it is that I do. Please go sit down. Thank you. I run a business called Altovex. I've done that for the last 9.5 years, and it's a digital agency. So we build mobile applications, custom websites, a lot of financial services products, and we do a lot of social media marketing as well. So I've done that for almost 10 years now. There's a couple other businesses that I'm invested in or involved in as a director or shareholder, and I do a lot of speaking about tech and innovation and entrepreneurship, and I consult a lot of people on business building. So kind of building businesses is what I do day in and day out. I didn't necessarily prepare anything because Kanye told me this was going to be a Q&A. But I guess maybe the first question is like, how many of you are entrepreneurs or want to be entrepreneurs or are side hustlers or whatever? Why are you all like shy and just like, just maybe? Daddy, aren't you Ubering? That's a business. Okay, cool. So, I mean, I'm sure you guys have lots of questions, or we'll see how many questions you have, and I'll answer them. But I think the number one question I get from people is like, how do I start a business? It's probably the most common question I get in my email or my inbox. And for me, it's quite simple. A lot of people try to complicate what it means to have a business, but the first step is always to solve a problem. That's the most basic thing, is that the easiest businesses to start, the easiest businesses to scale are ones that solve a problem first and foremost. So if you see an opportunity, you see something not working, it's solving it. The second step is even simpler. It's convincing people that you're able to solve that problem. A lot of people would call that selling or marketing, but it's convincing them to give you R1 for doing so. The third step is servicing them, is going out of your way to deliver excellence. A lot of people don't focus on that. They think just because I have a product, just because I've got a service, that people must just buy it, and they don't think about the customer service element. And then lastly is actually to just start. A lot of people are waiting for the perfect time, a certain amount of money saved up, funny, or like a certain amount of experience, but there is no perfect time. If you ever want to save up some money, by the time you save up 10,000 or 100,000, there's always going to be some other need for that. So for me, the trick is to start like today. There's nothing stopping you, even if you're at school. I think even being in school is the perfect time to start a business, because you don't have any costs, you don't have any overheads, and you've got this willing audience all around you. If I was an entrepreneur when I was at school, I probably would have made a lot more money, because if you think about all the students at WITS, at UJ, they all got money, all of them, and they're ready to spend it. Maybe a little bit less than other people, but they've got it. So if you can solve a problem for them, I think it's the perfect time to start your business. I've got so many other business elements and how to think and behave like an entrepreneur, but I think before I go into all that kind of content, maybe let me answer your questions first, since we're under time pressure, and then I can go into some of the stuff that I've got in my mind. Yeah? Yes, Kanye?
How do you know if you have the right idea?
So she said, how do you know if you've got the right idea, not knowing if you're going to waste time? So you don't know until you've actually started. Like I said, the first thing is start solving a problem. So if it's about looking at a problem, that's why that's so important. It's not about like, a lot of people ask me like, what business can I start that's going to make me money? And that's the complete wrong way to look at it, because because if you're not solving a problem, it's very unlikely that people are just going to give you money just because. It's not that easy to kind of make money and easy to get into business. It takes a lot of time and energy. I mean, the reason most people don't get into entrepreneurship is because they don't want to go without money. Like if you're making money now at your job and that's your aim, it's probably best for you to stay at your job. But if you started by solving a problem first and foremost, then it's easier then to think about how that much value, because you can say, well, how many people need this problem solved? And then you can go out and specifically target them. If no one says that that's a problem, then you can know that, you know, it's not a real business, or there's not an opportunity just yet. Yes, ma'am.
Let's say you started.
I wonder who that might
And you get to a point where you're in a state to scale up. What's the best way to get an investor on board? Or rather, how do you even start the path to getting an investor?
Okay. So my first answer is don't.
Okay.
Getting investment is actually really tricky. And I advise most people not to do it. And a lot of people, they're like waiting for government or for this angel investor or dragon from Dragon's Den or whatever to help them. But if you think from an investor standpoint, so right now for me to give you any money, let's say it's 100 Rand, right? I'm gonna give you 100 Rand today, and in 3 to 4 years, I want you to turn that 100 Rand to like 400 to 500 Rand. And you must be able to give it back to me and still have a business. That's how typical investors are. So they want to give you money today, and they want like a 3 to 5x return in 2 to 4 years. A lot of businesses are not capable of doing that. So that's why it's really dangerous, and there's not, like our ecosystem doesn't support it. So if you really have that capability, then you can go out and start speaking and looking for investors. But that's the kind of return that they want to have, because South Africa in particular doesn't have an ecosystem or climate for supporting small businesses. Like right now, it's easier to go in the bank and ask for like 5 million or 50 million than it is to ask for like 50,000 Rand. Because if you're asking for 5, 10, 50 million, you probably got the assets or infrastructure to back it, versus like a smaller business. So for me, I'd rather the best investor is always going to be a customer. Right? So if you can think about what you can do in your business right now, they can easily service another audience, rather scale incrementally than trying to go out and get money, because yeah, any investor is going to want his or her money back quite quickly. Anybody else? So why did you guys stay? What were you waiting to hear? Huh? No, I'm wondering, what's that thing? Or you just wanted to hear me speak about stuff? I'm asking. Yeah?
So if I'm just starting,
Yeah.
what are like the cheapest places where I can actually advertise my business? Yeah.
Perfect. Facebook is the cheapest place that you can ever advertise your business. Because the reason digital marketing is so powerful is because you can be very specific about who you target. So right now on Facebook, you can build an ad, you can narrow it down to 250 square meters or 1,000 kilometers, kilometers, I think about kilograms. You can like specifically segment that down to people's interests, the demographic, their age, the money that they have, their job title, the color of their hair. You can really get very specific about who to market to. So the reason that's better than any other kind of marketing is that you're speaking directly to the people most likely to buy that you can test. So I would create a Facebook ad, I'd put like 100 Rand behind it, do it for 3 or 5 days, see how it does. Facebook's always going to be your best bet. You're going to get the most bang for your buck. Zion Mutuma, stop it. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so if I need to start a business, is it best to meet with other people in the same way or alone?
That's a good question. So having a business partner is like having a marriage. It's a very big decision, and it's probably easier to get out of a marriage than it is easy to get out of a business relationship. Don't look at me like that. I'm talking about the legal side. I'm just talking about the legality, right? It's not that easy to exit a business. So I I choose your partners very wisely. So I've got one main business partner. He's a very close friend of mine, and that's how we started. And most of the businesses I'm involved in, like I'm involved in with him. Like we go 50-50 on a lot of the things. I see you, but I'm still answering. Thank you. So I choose very wisely, and I think about your skill set. So don't just get into business because you like somebody, because you guys get along. My friend has got a very specific skill set, and I've got a skill set, and they complement one another. I've had bad business relationships that have ended really badly and taken years to kind of recover from. So I think about the skill set and how you guys work. Even when we first started the business, we had 2 other friends that worked with us, and they didn't fit in the business, and they exited along the way. So I think it's not just about getting along, there has to be a skills complement as well. But I think it is super important at the same time to get along with the people that you do business with, because you spend most of your time with them. I spend more time with him than I do with my own family. So I think that's also super important to realize. But that's a good question. Yes, ma'am? I apologize. Yes, funny.
How do you keep the discipline going at it every day, especially when you're inside? How do you keep the discipline every day, always doing something every day towards getting to that goal? Making business successful.
Yeah, it's not easy, and I think that's why I'm glad you said discipline. Because a lot of people, they wait until like they're feeling motivated or inspired to do something. But then tomorrow it's going to be super cold and it's going to be hard to get out of bed, or there's no money, it's going to be hard to do it. So I think it's about instilling the discipline. So my rule every day is, did I do something? If I repeat it today, for the next 364 days, would I be closer to my goal? So then you kind of assess, like, what was your day like? What time did you wake up? Did you sleep in? Did you binge watch Netflix? What did you actually do? Because we kind of do the same things every single day. So I always try to look at my day and say, okay, cool, if I repeat it today, would I end up in a better spot a year from now? And if I don't, then I hit reset the next day. And if I did do well, then I'm like, okay, how can I improve a little bit better the next day? So I think it's just about like a daily commitment to wanting to improve yourself and then wanting to improve your business knowledge. It's just like your faith. Like if you prayed every single day, or you went to the gym every single day, you'd be in a better state a year from now. So it's the same with kind of personal development or business development. Yes, Baxter? Yeah.
Is there such a thing as like certain books that you should read? You know, like when these issue guys say that you must read these 5 books, you don't want to be successful. Is there even such a thing where they're just people trying to get people to view and maybe actually promote a certain business? Is there even such a thing as if you ever want to be successful in business, you must read 1 to 3 books, or have even like 1 to 3 degrees or that? Is there such a thing?
So I think there's 2 elements, right? So if you look at, there's a quote that says like, you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time around. And that's actually true and scientifically proven. So for me, I'm like, all right, who are those 5 people that I try to spend the most time with? So I'm looking at like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Ma, those people, and the only way I can spend time with them is by reading the same things that they read. So I look at that and like, what do billionaires or other successful people read? Because that's the only way I'll be able to think a little bit like they do. So I read the books that they read. And a lot of them are really good about publishing or sharing the things that they read. But the other thing is like, there was a study done by like I think they interviewed the 35,000 richest people in the world, and the one thing that they found that they all did was read, like every single one of them, and they read books. So I think if the most successful people are just in the habit of reading books on a regular basis, it's a great way for you to also leverage off of that. That was like literally the #1 thing by like 10 steps. So I think that's what I would commit to. So I think, yeah, I mean, some guys are obviously trying to sell books. My book comes out in August. But I'm serious. But I think it's just really about expanding your knowledge and being able to see things. Yeah. I'm not selling my book yet. Yeah. You had a question? Did you? I thought you raised your hand. No? Yes, you told Okay, never mind. No? Alright. You said.
What are some of the things that you've learned about like articulating your value to like to you know to exploit like opportunities and stuff in the people that you're coming across?
So there's this concept called the golden circle. I'm sure some of you have seen it before. It's by Simon Sinek, and it's 3 circles. It's what, how, and why. All right, so there's 3 circles. Why is in between how, and then what. So most people are they're able to communicate like what they do very well. Like I'm an entrepreneur. Fewer can tell you how they do it. So I'm a tech entrepreneur, and very few can tell you why. And then what I've learned over my time period, what Simon has articulated, is that very few people can articulate the why, but the why is like actually the most important thing. Like what and how you do it actually don't matter. People don't really care. They don't buy the services you offer. They don't buy the products you sell. They don't even buy your differentiator. They buy why you do it. So like your reason, your purpose, the reason you get out of bed. So for me, it's about trying to instill that purpose in everything that I do and communicate that first and foremost, and then sell you everything else. So why I get out of bed every day is like to take people from here to here. That's the main thing. So all the businesses that I run, from like the tie company that I ran a few years ago, it's like Baxter without a tie, Baxter with a tie on. He's like more charming, he looks better, he's more handsome. Full stop, right? I'm trying to help you out here, Baxter. Don't look at me confused, right? But like even consulting or teaching, like it's like before I spoke to you, after I spoke to you, hopefully. But I could get in the coffee business tomorrow if I wanted to. I could say you guys without a cup of coffee, you with, a nice cup of coffee and a free place with Wi-Fi to work. It's a better situation. So I think for me, learning how to communicate the why first is the first step. Because now when I walk into a room to sell to a client, I say, well, we're here to build your business, to take your business from here to here. Oh yeah, we happen to sell services that will, develop a website or an app or help you with the system. But the first step that we try to do is like, we're just here to build your business. So I think it softens people's up, and it's not just like a sales tactic. It's like, it's directly related to, why I do what I do. So I think that's where we have to start. And that's why it's super important not to always be selling, but to sell the value first. Does that help?
Yeah.
Cool. Anybody else? Baxter?
As much as we need that discipline to get to what you want, that determination, how do we now keep ourselves to become like business oriented people, like also still be able to be social person, be there for the family, like not just be that person, just for example, have business in the head and just when you way up to the top and get there and then all of a sudden like all along and how do we keep that balance? You still business, but you still also have people around, you still talk with family, still in touch with all and still have all of that balance.
So it's a good question, and the answer is I don't know. Because that's something I struggle with every single day. When Sister Nail is mad at me now, but when her and I first started dating, I remember she'd be like, let's go to the movies, and I'd be like, the movies for what? Like, I've got work to do. And right, so I had no balance back then whatsoever. But even now, it's difficult, right? So I run a couple companies, I travel a lot, as you guys know, I speak a lot, so some days I don't make it home for bath time. There's some weeks where I'm here, but I don't see anybody for the whole week. Like I leave by 4:30, I come home after dark. So it's difficult, but I think for me it's just like a constant reminder of trying to balance. So some days I'm like, okay, cool. At least 2 nights a week, I'm gonna try to make sure I leave here by like 5, 6 o'clock so I can get home and spend time with the kids before they sleep. I don't travel on the weekends. I don't open my computer on the weekends anymore. So I think, and when I get home, I try not to like look at any work, but when I'm actually home until everyone's asleep, maybe. So I think it's not easy. Like I don't have an answer because I don't think it's possible to just have a specific balance and say, okay, cool, I'm gonna wake up and do it from this time and this time, and then I'm gonna give you guys like 2 hours. Like I know Elon Musk, like he schedules like an hour a day with his kids, like it's in his calendar. That doesn't seem very natural to me, so I don't think I could do that, but I also get it at the same time. Like if he didn't do that, he probably wouldn't. So, I mean, she can probably speak to balance a little bit better than I can, now that she's back. But I think it's just a continual challenge. But I try to like have a couple of rules where I say, I'm like, if I'm with the kids, I'm not doing any work. On Sundays, I don't do any work. I make sure that nothing interferes with my hilltop schedule. But it's hard, it really is. It's a constant, and one thing I worry about is like if I miss too much time, like if I'm missing some of these moments. So, but that's the journey. This is Mutuma. The question was, how do you balance life and work and faith and family time? So I would like to know what your answer is on how I do that.
How do you balance?
Yes.
I think usually when people talk about balance, they refer to how do you juggle things at the same time. But striking a balance for Mushambi means separating time for those activities, because once he's dedicated to something, he focuses on it 100%. So, for example, over the past 3 months, he's been writing his book. 3 months, whatever, okay, this whole year. He's been basically writing his book. So we kind of have to adjust our family time around his dedication to that, because it means less time with the kids, less time with the family, and more hours at the office, or Saturdays writing and all of that stuff. So it's a matter of sacrificing this time to focus on this specific task. But the reason we allow for that is because we know that it's one thing at a time, and it's temporary. Our time is also coming, and there will be time dedicated to other things. So after the book is done, then you know, okay, that project is done, now we have time to family time, whatever, and then at the end of the year, I know it's going to be Cape Towning and whatever. So his knowing what his kind of schedule looks like for the year gives us a rough picture of how our family life will kind of go. And I also have my own things, so that he must know that he must also work his life out around my things. It's not just about him. I mean, entrepreneurs like that, you know. So I guess the balance is dedicating a specific task in a specific time. That's how he balances things. It's not, yeah. Because he has to focus all his attention on one thing for it to get done. There's no such thing as multitasking, even for women. It's just prioritizing and allocating time to different things. And yeah, if you're gonna marry an entrepreneur, just understand.
Good answer. What was your earlier question? Before I interrupted you?
I forgot. I think you answered it.
Yes, sir.
How much does passion play in this whole entrepreneurship game?
All of it, man. Yo, guys, there's no money, hey? No, it's funny, Zach. Yeah. No, it takes time, right? So I've been at this like 14, 15 years, and I'd say like only the last year and a half is it properly coming together. So that's the reality, and like every entrepreneur I know, that's been their path. Like there's another good friend of mine, he runs a clinic outside Pretoria, and for 9.5 years, he didn't bring home one paycheck, like one. Like he met his wife, they dated, they got married, they had a couple kids, and for 9.5 years, like he didn't contribute one rand. And now they've got like a 6-bedroom house overlooking like North Pretoria, like, but right, like how many of you guys would wait 9.5 years? Like I don't think Mrs. Mutuma would have waited 9.5 years, but she's waited quite a bit. So yeah. So like if the goal is like just to make money, that's not a big enough purpose or a big enough why, because yeah, like there's like what do you do when there's none? Or what do you do when there's plenty and then that's the only reason? So I think that's why the why and the purpose and the passion has to be a lot bigger, because of the passion, that's what's kept me during the years where I haven't taken salary or haven't been able to. So I think that's why every entrepreneur I speak to, I root them in the why first before we start talking about the business. Because, and the thing is, even when you have money, like, that can also, I know a lot of people that have plenty and are still incredibly unhappy because they have everything that they want, and that might sound nice, but then they're constantly like, what else? Like, I've got the car I want, the house that I want, and they've got nothing else, and they don't have faith. And so like there is no other purpose behind what they do, and they're incredibly unhappy. So I think, passion has to play like 100% a role into it. Because that's the only thing that's going to feed you, literally. She's over here rethinking what she said about entrepreneurship. Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a lot of problems with employees. What would you say, is there even a best way to treat employees that you could maybe advise on? Or is it just specific to personality? Because, people are different. So what advice could you give around?
Oh, employees are a problem, hey? Especially in South Africa, like our labor laws make it really difficult to get rid of somebody, even if they're bad. Like tomorrow, I have to go to the CCMA because of an employee that thinks he deserves a year's salary when he never did his job, literally. And we both know, the CCMA know, and we know this guy didn't do what he needed to do, but I still have to waste 4 hours of my time tomorrow afternoon and pay for that lawyer and all that. Just, it's ridiculous. So I think a lot of people take advantage of that, and that's what he's doing, so it's fine. But I think that's the reality when you have a company, is as soon as you have employees, you're taking a responsibility. So on the 25th of every month, I've got multiple families that I'm taking care of, not just my own. Usually my family's on the bottom of that list. So I think a lot of people don't think about that when they start business. But when it speaks to looking for the right people, I think you have to think about the vision of the company and the purpose of the company, and not just hiring for skills, but hiring for particular characters. Because every time we haven't done that, it's ended up biting us. And even this person tomorrow, we didn't do that. We thought, oh no, he was skilled at this kind of level, and it wasn't. So I think I would go around character and what that person can eventually become versus a specific skill set. Then the other tangible thing is 3-month contracts. All right, so everyone is safe and everything is reviewable, because after that people can get quite comfortable and relaxed and start taking advantage. Yeah. Dookie and then Tyson.
So let's say I see an opportunity or a problem in an institution, let's say a government entities or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I have solution in mind, and how do I go about pushing that and giving the right or getting the right attention from the right people, maybe in the government or wherever they are in the institution, and pushing out to what kind of pushing do I need? Do I need to neg them till they give me attention, or what do I go about it?
Cool. So I would stay away from government if I was you, because they're notorious for not paying their bills. I think there's government departments that owe us money from 2008, 2009. Yeah, 2009, 2010. Still, like to this day, like I just forget about it until people like you ask me about government. And I'm like, oh yeah, that N words. Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. So I'd be careful. Maybe at the same time, there's lots of people, from Polokwane that do government very well. So maybe it still should be. But I would think, so if it's government in particular, you're going to have a registered business. You're going to have a little bit of a track record before you go and speak to them. But I think at the end of the day, if you're just thinking about a customer, it's like, okay, this is your problem. This is how I'm going to solve it, and this is what's in it for you. And not like, oh, I'm going to make you money or give you something, but like, this is how this is going to benefit you and make the problem go away or the problem simpler. What's like the solution? So I think if you can package that, with maybe a couple of slides on PowerPoints or, a presentation, that's the best bet. So I think it's just selling the solution. And that's why that second thing I said is like, you have to be able to go out there and tell them what you're solving and be able to have a plan. So like, if it's me, I'm like, okay, what are you solving for me and how much is it going to cost me and how long is it going to take? If you get into those things, then that's going to get you in the door. And if I'm a little bit deeper, I'm going to say, who else have you done it for? Can you prove it that you can solve this thing?
I think the 3-month thing maybe was starting to answer the question a bit, like 3-month contract. But let's say, like, especially when the business is still like super, super small, you don't have like an HR department or HR person. What were your, what was your thinking in terms of making sure that this hire is the right hire? I know hiring people is a gamble, but how did you play it?
So we didn't do it very well. Like I said, we made lots of bad decisions because I think, when you're an entrepreneur, there's probably 3 things that you try to do that you shouldn't do. It's HR, it's accounting, and it's legal things. Those 3 things, you cannot fake your way to, marketing and operations, you can figure out, but those 3 things, you need expertise. So, in the legal and accounting, we had friends that did that, but the HR we just left, we thought we could handle that until it came to bite us. But I think what we do now is every interview that we have, we've got now a 3-step process where some of the team will meet them, and then the next level, maybe their manager will meet them, and then myself and my business partner will meet them. So or it depends, we can switch up the order. But basically is we try to meet them from a leadership standpoint, and then we try to get people that are going to be working with them on a daily basis to also give our feedback. Because as an MD or CEO, my role in the company is not as in-depth as some of them. They're specifically working on the projects and they're hands-on every single day. So how they view someone is also quite important. So now we just try to involve everybody in that process as much as possible. Whenever we've made once-off decisions and only one person has hired someone, it's come back to bite us literally every time. So now we just try to involve as many people as possible. So when it's when it's starting out, I'll think about the characteristics of that person, and I'd also think about working in a small business. So working in a small business is very different than working in corporate. At corporate, at 5 o'clock or even 4:30, you can pack your bag and be ready to go. In a small business, 5 o'clock is basically lunchtime. So I think you also have to find someone who's got that extra effort because you're gonna need it. You can't have someone who's looking at the clock, ready to go, and oh, these are the only things you told me to do, and that's it. You need someone who's a go-getter, who can self-manage, who's always willing to kind of go above and beyond. Because that's the only kind of person that works in a small business environment. If you're gonna have someone who's always counting time and counting tasks, they're just not gonna fit. They're not meant to be in that kind of ecosystem. Yes, ma'am?
How do you start an online business?
How do you start an online business? To sell things online?
Yeah.
Yeah? Well, it's actually quite easy, right? So, to start an online shop, you can buy, there's a website called Theme Forest, and you can buy an actual theme and design it for quite cheap. I think those things they start from 400 grand. And if you go with one called WooCommerce, W-O-O Commerce, you can find themes for online stores. And that's literally it. It costs you a couple bucks, you don't have to spend thousands and thousands of rand, and you can launch that thing tomorrow. And then you can use something it's a Simple Pay. Is it Simple Pay? I'll double check. But just check Simple Pay. It's it's a thing to accept cards and EFTs, and you can sign up for that, and they take a percentage fee, and you can start. So that can take you like a week or two. So it's literally that easy to launch an online business. The tricky part is then selling, right? And then convincing people to trust you or to be willing to, and then that's the hard part about business, is that there's no specific answer about that. It's going to take some time. But the tangible steps of like starting an online business, it can take you a couple of days. Yeah, ask Fanny. He can help you out. It's very easy and quick, and it doesn't have to cost you anything, literally. A lot of people think, oh no, I'm going to have to save up, and e-commerce will cost me $20,000. It doesn't have to. Yes, ma'am.
So when you chose your business partner, like because I heard that you need to share the same values as the people that you choose to work with. So with the one that went bad compared to the one that you have now, is it because you share more values with this person? What was the difference?
It's deep. Because Yes, I think what went wrong and the one that went very wrong, the one that she's speaking about, is that I let a lot of stuff slide and I made excuses for the other person. So he told me who he was from day one, but I think I didn't believe it, and I kept making excuses. And looking back, I'm like, no, I knew all these things. I think with the business partner that I have now, and I've had for the longest period of time, is that we communicate all the time. Like I speak to him every single day. Even when I'm doing businesses that are completely unrelated to him, we're always talking. We're just in a constant state of communication. So I think because of that, we've got a very high level of trust, and we know each other very well. And so if I get an SMS now that he spent some money on the company card, I'm not going to be like, hey, what did you do? I trust him enough to be like, no, but he's got the business's best interests at heart. And I think it's rooted in communication, which I guess is part of every relationship success. And then I think in terms of values, we do share a lot of the same values, our commitment to our families, and commitment to building businesses that help other people. And also just doing things the right way. He's not a Christian yet. I'm still working on that. But he's a good person. We were talking about it actually a couple months ago, and there's friends of ours that have pretty much the exact same business, and they've been in business the same amount of time as us, and they're probably doing 10 times better than us. They're just killing it. But then they don't always do things the right way. They slide brown envelopes when they need to. They just do whatever a typical South African business needs to do to get done. And because of that, they're quite successful. And we were talking about that, we could have been at the same level as these guys, but that kind of business is not even an option for either of us. It's not even a temptation. And so I'm proud of that whenever those opportunities come our way, him and I, we don't flinch. We're pretty specific about the kind of business that we want to do. And neither of us are selfish. If we wanted to make more money, we probably could have a long time ago, but we've always been committed to putting as much money back into the business and to our employees as possible. So I think if I was in business with someone else who had different motives, who wanted more things and wanted money, it probably would have had its challenges. But we're kind of aligned on those things, so it helps. Who else had a question? Yeah.
How do you keep your employees motivated to share the very same dream that you have with taking your business forward?
Yeah. So I try to share a lot, as much as possible, about the kind of business that we're going into, because people also buy into the why. So the why is always going to be the golden thread. People buy into the why. They don't care about actually how much they're getting paid, or what the workspace looks like, if it's funky, if we've got unlimited leave. That actually doesn't matter. They're what are we doing here? What's the purpose? So we try to share as much of that as possible. Every Monday I send them some motivation or some interest with some things I'm thinking about for them and their particular tasks. But I think the main thing that we try to do is that we don't limit people by their job description. like anyone can do whatever they want in the business. And out of that, we had some cool ideas that people grow instead of just be like, just stick to what you do. So I think we try to give people as much freedom to say, come with an idea, let's try it out, and we'll take it from there. So we test a lot of stuff. So I think it's a different kind of workplace. I mean, we do have unlimited leave, but then we also don't have hours. So that means people don't clock in and clock out. But usually that means they don't clock out. So it's the reverse. Like most of them try to stay as late as I do. They don't keep up mostly. But so I think, yeah, so we have a lot of things from a flexibility standpoint to reward people because we know that they're going to be pushing harder and our expectations are a lot higher. Like we have, I'd say working for us is pretty difficult. So because of that, we try to reward it. Yeah. Cool. Can you? Am I finished? Oh, nice one, guys. Yeah, I think, I appreciate your questions. I think they've been pretty good. And I guess I don't say, I know I can be a little bit harsh when it comes to business, but because, like, I think there's enough people that are out here selling you, like, the idea that you can just do it and that it's for everybody, and I don't think that that's true. It's difficult, and it's a hard journey. So for me, I always try to keep it 100 and just be honest about what the process is going to take. But the main thing I'd say for any of you that are thinking about it is to just start. Like, that's literally the number one thing, is like you have to just begin. You have to just start from now and start today. Everyone's always waiting for this perfect time, and I don't know what that looks like. So you just have to take this risk and just begin, and then you never know where it will turn out. And I think that's it for me, unless Mrs. Mutuma has anything else she'd like to say about entrepreneurship. No? Okay. Thanks, guys.